Welcome to episode
Awesome.
18 of the Expressions podcast. This week we are talking to Cassandra Lee, a policewoman and a co-owner of F.A.Q Fit Studio. Cassie, you are a policewoman, and I've known you forever, and never when I knew you when you were a little kid did I think you'd be a policewoman. So that's pretty awesome in itself. But beyond that, you also opened up your own studio, fitness studio, and with all the trials and tribulations of COVID, I'm sure you've got a lot of amazing stories to talk to us about. Before we do that, before we get into all of that stuff, I just want to say hi to Aurora. Hey, how you doing, Aurora?
I'm doing well. How about you, Brian?
I'm good. We're two people down this week. Mark has family visiting, and Ryan, I think he knew you were a police officer and just didn't want to be here. Yeah, probably not the case. He's got other things he had to do tonight. But all right, so I am super excited because for those of you who don't know, when I was younger, I lived in Oshawa. And I was living in the house of my manager, Dwayne Lee, and I was working selling stereos. And Dwayne had a little baby named Cassie, and that's who has turned into this person right here. So there's how many years have gone by since then? 25, 26, something like that, 25 years?
Easily, yeah.
Easily. I really appreciate you being here on the podcast tonight. You've got a pretty great story to talk about with all of your passions, and they have become your day-to-day lifestyle. And that's really what this whole show is about, talking to people who are creative. Awesome. I did some sales training a while ago. The guy named Brian Tracy does sales training. And I learned a lot of stuff from some of the things he said. And one of the things he said was creativity comes in all forms. Even just driving home after work, you're using creativity to find alternate routes and to get yourself home faster, or save gas, or whatever you do when you're driving. So creativity is in so many different forms, and you have found your creativity and your passions in helping other people better themselves as well as yourself. We just talked a few minutes ago before I hit record that you just love the feeling for yourself as well of working out and getting fit. But maybe, Cassie, you can give us just a brief history of how it went from little baby Cassie, this big, to a police officer, and then into the fitness studio idea. Just a brief history of how that happened.
That's gonna be a while. Just a brief history.
Well, I know it's 25 years. Brief history of 25 years.
No, I'm just kidding. I'll just kind of fast forward to high school time. So I guess after high school, I wanted to be a teacher originally. I ended up getting into Brock University. So I went there for a year, and it was about, 3/4 through the school year. And I had always on the side wanted to be a police officer. It was always a thought, but then I just thought my parents won't like it, or, it's a dangerous profession and all that kind of stuff. But then I was in school to be a teacher, and I was like, I don't enjoy this at all, right? So I just felt like I was more like a number there, and rather than an actual person. So I finished the year off at university, and then I applied to college. I ended up going to Durham College in Oshawa for Police Foundations. And then after Police Foundations, I took a graduate certificate program called Advanced Law Enforcement Investigations. Took that, and then I was a child and youth worker with young troubled teens and at-risk youth for about 2.5 years after college. I ended up getting the job actually through my placement that I did for Police Foundations. I really liked that job, but we were dealing with police officers in and out of the homes all the time, the group homes, and I was looking at them thinking that's what I want to do. So I ended up after 2.5 years, I applied originally to Toronto Police, and they weren't hiring at the time. They were going through some kind of a hiring freeze, something like that. So then I applied to the OPP, and it took me 1.5 years to get onto the service. Actually, it's kind of funny, when I was at police college for the Ontario Provincial Police, Toronto Police called me and said, we'd like to offer you a job as a police constable. I said, sorry, I just literally got hired. I'm at the college now for OPP, and they said that's too bad. But I said, well, everything happens for a reason, right? So Yeah, it was pretty wild. So they sent me actually to Halliburton, Ontario for the first, I guess I was there for 2 years of my career. It was okay up in Halliburton, but it's kind of like cottage country, right? In the wintertime, it's pretty dead, but the summertime, like the population quadruples, so it was pretty crazy. And you're working with the same amount of people you were working when there was like quarter of the population, right? So, and in 2014, I moved to Aurelia, bought my first house, and I've been in Aurelia as a police officer for, 6 years now. Actually, almost 7, I guess. So I've been a police officer for 10 years as of last August. So that was pretty wild. Or sorry, this August coming up. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, but yeah. So next August would be 10 years. But right now I'm on mat leave. So I just had my first son last January 2020. And then surprise, surprise, we had another one on the way last year. So he's now with us, and he was born April 27th. So I've been dealing with 2 kids under 2, but luckily I'm on mat leave. So, and then we've also been, on top of all that, my fiance and I opened our own fitness studio out of our basement, actually, in 2018. So we opened it up. Originally, we called it Homework Fit Studio, and we got our CanFit Pro certifications for personal training. And we just thought, like, we had always been asked at the gym when we were working out, oh, do you guys train anyone? Are you like available to train personal training? And we're like, no, like we don't have a certification. But people look at you like when you know what you're doing, they want to ask for help naturally because they like the way you look or they want to look a certain way or something like that. So then we got our certifications, got a loan from the bank, and we literally turned our basement, which I'm in right now, actually. Now it's like an office space, and it's not colored purple and turquoise anymore. But we had it all finished, and we started our own gym, like personal training studio out of our basement. And we weren't too busy at first, but then as soon as the word got out, we had a couple clients, and as soon as and we were pretty big on social media too. I love Instagram, so I'm always on it promoting our business. So we ended up getting really big for the space, and we were getting way too busy. So when I was on my first mat leave, like I'd have about 6 or 7 hours of clients a week. And Jordan sometimes would have like 50 or 60 hours of clients a week. So we were just getting way too big for our space. And one of our clients had opened up or was planning on opening up a supplement store called Boss Supplements. And we ended up talking one night, and we thought, wouldn't it be cool to open like a hybrid supplement store, personal training studio, like a 2-in-1 kind of deal? And, that idea quickly became a reality. So the 4 of us bought in together. We're all co-owners now, and we named the new studio F.A.Q Fit Studio. And we are now attached to Boss Supplements Incorporated. So it's been a wild ride. It's been super exciting, though. We just opened up in February this past year, the 2 businesses together. But prior to that, we were open in our basement from October 2018 to just this past January 2020 or 2021. So yeah, that's kind of where I am now.
Amazing. As far as opening a studio goes, is it really just as easy as you had the idea and you just set up your basement? I mean, I've tried to do things in my house, like even setting up a simple studio for photography is such a challenge. I mean, what were some of those hurdles that you had to get through for that?
Well, originally, like, the basement was literally a shell. Like, it was a new construction house. So we had to do a complete finishing of the basement. So we put in the rubberized floor, the mats. We had an area for a consultation. We called it the consultation nook. And then we had to put a bathroom in, and we ended up putting an extra shower. So, I mean, when all that's said and done, you're spending already like $40,000 on finishing a basement, right? And our contractor that we had, I won't name names, but he was absolutely horrible. So we were going through a nightmare with that. Like, construction took probably 2 months longer than it actually should have taken. But anyways, that's besides the point. So that was one hurdle to begin with. But now our basement is like not painted. It was painted purple and turquoise for the studio before. But now it's gray. So it's just a plain basement now, but it's pretty surreal to come down here sometimes. It's pretty wild because yeah, there you go. There's the purple and turquoise.
There you are.
And
Yep.
yeah, and then once we opened, a big challenge was just getting our name out there at first, right? So we started an Instagram page. Originally, it was homework underscore double or homework FS or something like that. That was our original Instagram page. And like I was fairly new to doing like a business aspect to Instagram. I had my own personal Instagram at the time, but I had never done it, made ads and stuff like that. So a friend of mine introduced me to Canva, which is like an app you can use to make ads and stuff like that. So we started using that. And then I used Vistaprint for business cards. And then, yeah, we had a grand opening. So this was prior to COVID, obviously. This is from 2018 when you could actually have like gatherings of people. So yeah, we had a big grand opening and a lot of our friends came. And then it just like, you get your friends to kind of push what you're selling or whatever, and they put it out there. And I actually started my own boot camps. So with boot camps, they would be about 4 to 6 people down in the basement here. And I would just do like high interval intensity training. I would do circuit training, weight training, like a whole bunch of things with the ladies. And we'd blast the music down here. I would dance on the side. I love dancing, not good at it, but I love it. So anyways, we did that. And then like every night I would have boot camp. I would do Instagram boomerangs at the time and of the people working out. And slowly but surely, like the following of boot camp ladies was insane. It started with like, a couple girls, like 2 or 3. Then it was like doubled that. And before I know it, I had about 30 dedicated boot camp ladies that would come like almost every night to my boot camp. So it was amazing. I loved it. And that's kind of like how we got out there in that sense. And then Jordan was just so busy with his personal training clients. And then, when word of mouth gets out and people see results of people and they hear the good feedback about us, then, we got really busy really quick. So yeah, definitely. And we won Reader's Choice of 2020 for best personal training, best boot camp. And I think there was another one too. I forget what the third one was, but yeah, so that was pretty exciting.
That's so awesome. Cool. Congratulations. The boot camp, who are you catering to? Like, who is your usual customer that you would have come through? Are we talking honestly, younger people, older people?
From the ages... Yeah, like we've had ladies here that are 65 years old. So anywhere from 16 to 65, I'd say. And the 65-year-olds, you're like, holy crap, you are giving her. Like, they are looking good, right? And so, yeah, we'd have a mix of girls in here. We've had a couple guys come in, one of the girls' boyfriends, and I make fun of him all the time because he said he didn't want to come back because there's too much cardio. So I guess some guys don't like to do cardio, right? So
some guys?
But, yeah, he couldn't even keep up with his girlfriend. I found it hilarious. Some guys. Some guys like to run stuff, but but when it comes to the gym guys, most guys don't like cardio.
It's all about getting big.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Jordan, your fiance, he's a big guy. He's quite fit. I've seen some photos and some of the workout regimens that you guys do, and I think it would be a bit intimidating. Like I'm an older guy now. I want to get fit. I want to learn how to do it, and what kind of services do you guys have for people, that are a little bit older who may have like issues with shoulders or things like that? Is that something you guys have to worry about?
Yeah, for sure. So in our initial consultation with our clients or initial session with them, we always go over any kind of injuries they have or any kind of like diagnosis or something that would hinder them in some way while weightlifting or while in the gym in some fashion, right? So there's a couple of Jordan's clients that have had knee issues or back issues or like you name it, right? Like one of his clients has a sciatica. I had really bad sciatica once, and I had really bad tennis elbow. So you kind of like get to know people's injuries and stuff like that, or hindrances that they have because of their age or whatever reason, and you kind of just work around that. So, and also a lot of the injuries that people have, if they strengthen another part of their body, those injuries will essentially go away in time. So, which is really interesting, like that we've learned over this whole process too, is that say if you have a lower back issue, that could be because like your glutes aren't strong enough or your legs aren't strong enough. So your lower back is always like you're either slouched forward or kind of like leaning back. So we've learned a lot about, postural assessments here and how you can really help someone become better physically. And it's just like, it's changed people's lives. And that's one of my favorite parts about this job is like, I'm just so passionate to see people change in every way, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's pretty incredible to watch. I absolutely love it. I can't get enough.
One of the things that we really focus on is the mental health side of our worlds as creators and so on. And I know I'm going to keep calling you a creator because you are thinking about great, like the boot camp idea and all the little workshops that you run, and that's all being super creative. As far as the mental health side of things go, do you have a lot of people that come through there who are drawn to fitness for improving mental health and things like that as well?
Absolutely. I would say that that's probably one of the bigger reasons why people get into. That's why I got into fitness originally. It's just because I'm a police officer, and on a day-to-day basis, you're seeing everyone at their worst, right? No one's calling the police because they're having a good day, right? They're always calling because it's their version of the worst day of their lives, right? So potentially, so you go through, you see a lot, and you hear a lot, and there's a lot of negativity on the job. So I found fitness, and it changed my life, honestly. I just feel I can't even explain it. It's like pure bliss when I'm working out. I can put my headphones on. Right now, I'm really into metal. You'd be proud of me, Brian. I'm really into like death metal right now when I work out. I don't know why. It just really gets me fired up.
Wow.
So I've been listening. Yeah, I've been listening to like Behemoth and Cannibal Corpse and like you name it, right? Like even some like Russian death metal bands. It's crazy, but it's nuts.
Oh,
like, you're probably like shaking your head right now. Like,
no, that comes straight from Uncle Dana. I'm telling you right now. That's Dana's
Probably,
influence on you. Yeah.
Definitely.
Her father's brother Dana used to be in death metal bands and very famous overseas in Sweden or something like that. I remember.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of Mark. He'd be like going crazy about this right now because he likes the heavy rock music.
It's heavy, like to the fact that I can't even listen. I don't even know what they're saying because it's just like all like just from their gut, right? It just seems like but it gets me fired up, and I just always feel so good lifting heavy and just sweating and letting everything out on the gym floor, right? But yeah, back to the original point about other people. So during this last COVID shutdown, because we had been closed for the other 3 shutdowns, because we had 4 lockdowns. There was a third one here. Sorry, there was like a mid one between the 3 big lockdowns, and there was another one in Simcoe County. Anyways, so we had been locked down for 4 times total. And the last time we got locked down, we were like, listen, we just opened this place. We have to pay, $10,000 a month in rent between the 2 businesses. We can't afford to shut down. We couldn't qualify for the rental, whatever the government was giving because we were a new business, right? So we were like, we have to do something. So we did a lot of research, and we found what's called the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. And that's how we were able to stay open over this past lockdown, which has been since like, I don't know, March or something like that. Something crazy, right? So so we were like, you know what, we have to stay open. So we found this, I guess you could call it a loophole. So we found it, and we required all of our current clients and anyone new to get a doctor's note. Well, it had to be from a registered health practitioner. So it could be from a doctor, therapist, physiotherapist, chiropractor, RMT, etc. Anyway, so I'd say, a large amount of clients were able to get notes from one of those providers, but some people couldn't. So we probably lost about 20% of our clientele right off the bat, right? And then and so a lot of people got their notes for physical reasons, but a lot of people got, like, let's say 50-50. The other 50 got their notes for mental health reasons. People needed the gym to stay, mentally fit through all of this, right? Like through COVID and lockdowns and, being essentially like locked away from the world and seeing people. And so people literally use these sessions as their therapy sessions. So it's, and not only does it provide you with mental health therapy. It provides you with like physical therapy. So you leave there feeling like on top of the world. Like I always promise clients, and I said, I know you're not supposed to usually promise things like this, but I promise people when they leave my studio, you will feel good. Like you'll feel on top of the world. Your endorphins are kicked in, you're sweating or whatever. Like you just, or sometimes people also talk, like they use it as an actual therapy session. And they talk to their trainer, they get to know them. You build a relationship with your trainer. And it's an all around, it's an amazing atmosphere to be in. And that's why I just become so passionate about it. It's truly amazing. And it's really changed my life for the better.
That's awesome to hear.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was wondering how like COVID impacted things, because I know that some trainers and gyms have taken to like online kind of like training or stuff like that. Did you guys dabble in that at all a little bit? Or
yeah, actually, I didn't mention that, but so when we got locked down, we weren't allowed to be open like at all. Like gyms weren't allowed to be open or any kind of indoor, but then we found this like loophole, we'll say, and so we stayed open. And we had to lose all of our boot camps, because that's the one thing we made a concession with, is because our boot camps could hold up to eight ladies in the studio plus the trainer, so that's 9 people. So it was just, we were like, okay, no, like unless the girls could get doctor's notes, but then we just thought, that's too complicated to get 30 women's doctor's notes or whatever, right? So we started doing online Zoom classes, like a Zoom boot camp, essentially. So we just said, actually, originally we started it, it was right when, so there's this charity in Aurelia, it's called the Charlie's Run. Every year they run it, and the proceeds go to the neonatal OB unit at Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital. So we thought, why don't we run these boot camps for free, and people can start donating to the Charlie's Run? So we started it, and we thought, like there was 3 of us. There was myself, my partner Joe, and one of our employees, Kendall. And we started doing these boot camps for free, and girls were donating, and people heard about it. We put it all over Instagram, and we actually ended up making $1,500 that we donated to the Charlie's Run. So that was just like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, because it was just such a great feeling. Like we're just like, we're out there, we're helping these women, stay sane, stay fit during the lockdown over Zoom. Like, so it's not the same, right? It's not as personable, obviously, but we got it done. And yeah, it was amazing. So that was around the end of April. Yeah, it was because I had to go off for a bit. I had the baby, so I had to go off for a bit. But yeah, we did Zoom classes, and then after we did about 3 weeks of free classes almost every night, we started charging like only $10 a class. And then it wasn't like we didn't make a lot of money, but it meant a lot to the women that we were still having them, because it was kind of like a lot of them used it as an accountability factor too, right? So like they could sit at home and watch whatever, Netflix or whatever, like we all do, but they could do that, or they could get up for an hour and sweat and, look silly on camera in front of 20 other girls or however many there were. So yeah, so that's what we dabbled in online with. And we also offer like online programs and nutritional programs and stuff like that. But yeah, that's how we got the Zoom classes started. So that was pretty cool.
It's amazing how people diversified and started trying all these new things online. I was working the Henry's chat when everything kind of hit the fan, and everybody, literally, I'd say 7 out of 10 chats were people trying to find webcams and lighting systems, the ring lights, and all that kind of stuff so that they can go online.
Yeah,
it was thank God that this all happened when we have internet. I mean, if this had happened in the 80s.
Right.
It could have been a completely different in the 90s, right? So, yeah, I think we all fared as well as we could have during this. And you excelled. I mean, not only did you come out of the whole COVID situation with a better studio, a better place to work in, big, huge location, but you were also able to have people there, like you say, with the notes. And then you were doing outside stuff with I saw a lot of photos, your social media. I watch. Of course, I'm proud of you. All the women outside with their mats all spaced out in good distance. I mean, everything looked like you were doing it perfectly. I'm very careful with the whole COVID thing. As Aurora knows, I'm kind of a little bit when it comes to the
But
whole.
it's a good way to be, It's better to be safe than sorry, right?
It's kept me safe so far.
Yeah.
But when I was watching your fitness stuff, I'm like, is it? No, it's perfect. Like everybody is properly spaced out. Everybody looks like, and you're outside, and everybody's having fun.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for keeping that going.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Well, as soon as we were able to as soon as outdoor fitness became like allowed in one of the stages, I think it was stage 1, we were like, okay, outdoor boot camps, let's do it. So then I think we did the first one on a Saturday, and it was incredible. Like I can't even say, like, like we had some of our regulars, actually, well, all of them were regulars at the time. And everyone showed up. Everyone's happy to be there. Everyone's, like, loved seeing people in person and like exercising with each other. It just felt amazing. We had the music blasting outside. It was sunny. It was fantastic. I can't get enough of it. And so I do the videos like every night. We take videos now. We were doing boomerangs before, but it became too much. So we do videos now. So like when I do the videos, I just put them all in my story on Instagram, and then I tag all the girls. And there's usually about the outdoor classes, we had 10 girls per class. And it was crazy, like, every night. And the vibes are so good because everyone is so encouraging and motivating of one another. There's no judgment. Like I have women that are starting for their first time in fitness, ever, or like their first time in years or whatever. And then I've got girls that, work out 5 or 6 days on their own a week, but everyone kind of like comes together cohesively as a team kind of thing. And like everyone's cheering each other on, and it's just, the atmosphere is incredible. Like I just can't say any like too many good things about it, right? So
sounds like you're building a whole community up there. People who are, just keeping everybody going, keeping everybody happy, lifting everybody up instead of, dragging people down like so many people do.
So where are you doing this, by the way? Just out of curiosity, in like a public park or?
So where we are right now, we're in a new commercial, like I guess, I don't know what you would call it, like a commercial parking lot with a bunch of other commercial buildings, restaurants and whatnot. So we have a big part of the parking lot it was essentially vacant at the time because our 2 units next to us haven't even moved in yet. That's how new it is. And the unit next to us on the other side is a dental office. So most evenings that we do boot camp, and on Saturdays and Sundays, there's no one there. So we would like take over the whole parking lot kind of thing and just do them there. And it's been really cool. So, and actually it's funny because where we are in the parking lot, you can see Taco Bell, Wimpy's, Pizza Hut, Twisted Indian, and St. Louis Wings, and you're looking at this while you're working out, or they're looking at you while they're eating, right? So it's kind of funny, like just to see like the difference, right? But it's been good for advertising, I guess.
That's dangerous. That's like, hey, just work out so you can just go over there and have one of those bloomin' onions or something.
Yeah, yep.
I know that's right.
Also a Starbucks in the same plaza too, so yeah, it's dangerous.
That's why it's good you're there, because everybody that's eating all that food can end up just stopping at your place afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah.
Working it all off. There you go.
Yes. Yep.
Social media. How much do you love social media? Like, I know you said you use it a lot, but are you like the kind of person that you're thinking of your grid, you're thinking of all the different colors that are consistent and all that kind of stuff? Like, are you putting like 5 hours of thought into this kind of stuff, or are you just kind of experiencing the day, capturing the moments and putting it out there for everybody to see?
Yeah, I'd say that's more like me. That's funny that you asked that, because I was thinking the other day, I was looking through someone's feed. I said every single picture looks the same, and it looks cool. Like the aesthetic of it looks amazing. Like they have the same filter or the same preset on every single picture in their feed, and it does look neat. And then I look at mine, I'm like, there's bordered pictures and there's collages and there's like, whatever. And there's no rhyme or reason to it whatsoever. And like you said, I'm just kind of living in the moment. I feel like posting about it, and I'll make a post. And like I have, a lot of my Instagram, my personal Instagram is my babies. So like they pretty much take over that. And then I have a couple fitness posts as well. And then I have there's the 2 business accounts that we share. So there's the HQ Fit Studio one and the Boss Aurelia one. So those are, again, both of those as well are just kind of like post as it goes. Like there's no rhyme or reason to the pages. And I really like doing the stories for boot camp. And I just recently learned how to do reels. So I didn't know what an Instagram, like I've watched them, like they're hilarious. I like watching them, but I had no idea how to make it. So I just made my first reel the other day. It was a boot camp reel. And I was like, oh, this looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna dabble in that a little bit longer and see how it goes. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Like I don't think about much of that stuff, actually. Not much.
What about the thought that goes into all this on you there, on your tattoos that you have? Because I don't remember you having tattoos. And now all of a sudden you've got these amazing tattoos.
Yeah, I have, this is a lion. You can't really see it that well.
Very cool.
So that's my lion. The reason why I got the lion is, you know my grandpa Bill, right? You remember him?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so he's probably my favorite person on this planet, or was.
And I understand why. He was the sweetest man alive. Absolutely.
He really was. He was absolutely incredible. So I'll cut the story short, but he was in the hospital, and he happened to see I have a big, huge tiger tattoo down my side. It's massive. It takes over my whole rib cage. It really hurt. And he said, what's that on your side? Because he saw it. I'm like, ooh, my grandpa sees my tattoo. Like, I'm like, I got a tattoo. And he sees it. He's like, whoa, like that's big, because it's not a little one. Like, it literally is my entire side. So he goes, what'd you get a tiger for? And I said, oh, like it's my favorite animal. I've just always loved tigers. And I said, what's your favorite animal? Because I guess I'd never asked him that before. And the way he answered, like his voice was like the sweetest thing. He said, my favorite animal? He's like, a lion. And I was like, oh, like it was just so matter of fact. And I was like, okay. And then unfortunately he passed away a couple months later. And I knew ever since that day when he said a lion that I needed to get a lion tattoo. So I got the lion tattoo from Chronic Ink in Markham. And I actually found an old birthday card that he wrote, Love, Grandpa Bill. And so I had him like take it from the birthday card, like trace it or whatever they do, and his signature is right there. Well, you know,
nice.
Right there. So it says Love, Grandpa Bill. Yeah. So it's probably it's my most meaningful tattoo for sure. Well, I have another meaningful one too, but yeah, so that's why I got that one. And then everything else are just my poppy. We can't really see it. There's a poppy there. You see it?
On the side, yeah.
Cool.
Anyways, yeah, there's a poppy. That's from before we had our first son. We had 2 pregnancy losses, so that's for to remember them by. And actually, Jordan also has a poppy tattoo. Thank you. Well, it's not really like, I don't obviously advertise it, but yeah, we had an ectopic pregnancy, and then 8 months later we had a miscarriage, and then we didn't think that we could conceive children. So, you know, I just said, I give up. Like, I don't want to try anymore. This is too frustrating. And we went on a trip to Florida, and it happened finally.
That's all it takes, a trip to Florida.
Throw stress out the window and you just go live your life. Yeah, literally. Like, we just, you know, we went down there, you know, like with the intention of just having fun, right? Because we had kind of went through a really bad year the year before with the 2 pregnancy losses. And I said, you know what, I'm done trying. Let's just go have some fun. So yeah, so then 9 months later, we had our first son. But,
that's amazing. Yeah. That really goes to show you how your mental health can affect everything.
Yeah.
100%.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
Definitely.
Right there exactly the reason why mental health is so important, because the minute you let it go, the minute you were able to just do for yourself and Jordan, that's congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
We talked about your parents, because I know Dwayne and Robin love them. They were like, I don't want to call them like parents to me. They were like brothers and sisters to me, because there's only like 10 years apart. But my life wouldn't be anything at all without Dwayne. And then living with Dwayne and Robin, and seeing the way Robin raised you, and seeing how active parenting is supposed to be, was really eye-opening. So when it comes to your parents, you mentioned how they wouldn't like it. You thought they wouldn't like it if you went into being a police officer. How did they react? I could imagine Dwayne be like, "Oh, cool," and then Robin would be like, "What are you talking about?" Is that close?
Actually, It was more of the opposite, actually. My dad was more concerned, and he was like, "Well, that's dangerous. Are you sure you want to be a police officer?" You know, and I'm like, "Yeah, like I really do." And my mom was like all for it because one of her best friends was a police officer. Actually, a couple of her my parents' friends were police officers, and she was like, "Yeah, I'd love you to be a police officer." And then when she found out I was going to Haliburton because we had a cottage in Wilberforce, which is in Haliburton County, she was like, "Oh, now you can come visit us." And it's actually a funny story. So they were snowmobiling up in Dorset, Ontario, which is part of my service area. And she's like, "Come visit us. We're at a restaurant. We're snowmobiling. We snowmobiled too." I said, "Sure, no problem." I walk in uniform, and I'm not even lying. Like 5 minutes later, the restaurant was empty. Like everyone was gone. It was hilarious. My mom's like, way to like kick everyone out of the restaurant." I'm like, well, like, you know, they see the uniform, they think I'm here. Meanwhile, I'm just there to like see my mom and give her a hug and say I love you kind of thing, right? So
yeah, buzzkill Cassie, that's all you are.
That's so interesting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brian, something that actually not
every
many
time, like, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Not many people know this about me. When I was in elementary school, I think it was like grade 6 or grade 7, we had a visitor police officer to the school. And he talked about how it was like a good job and like, you know, all these things. And I'm like, oh, maybe one day I could do that. Right. So I go home to my parents and I'm like, oh, you know what? There's a police officer at school today. And I thought it was a pretty good job. He was very like encouraging about everything, and both of them were very freaked out. So I don't know. I was just a little kid at the time, and I knew later on in life that wasn't the thing for me, obviously. But it was one of those things that it was kind of like a scary moment to even just bring up to somebody who cared about you. So I definitely respect that about you. I'm sure that it would have been kind of frightening the first time you brought it up to them, because it is a risky job, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've been in some hairy situations, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
I
what
even did 2 deployments.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, I've even done 2 deployments in like a northern reserve, like Lion Reserve. So I've done 2 of those. They were 2 weeks at a time, and that was pretty wild when I went up there.
Oh, wow. I was just gonna ask, like, what's it like working in the field like that, like just in general for, you know, the day-to-day kind of job, or you know,
yeah,
even kind of dealing with more difficult kind of situations.
Yeah, like, I mean, like I was saying earlier, you are only seeing people on their worst day, right? So, and every single day is different. Like, you know, one day from 6 o'clock in the morning when you start your shift till noon, you could be, you know, grabbing coffee, driving around, you know, patrolling or whatever. Or you could be responding to a motor vehicle collision where someone just died like 5 minutes into your shift. Like, it was just, it's the craziness between, you know, like one extreme to the next is absolutely insane. Like, I've gone from, like I said, driving around drinking a coffee to all of a sudden lights and sirens to a domestic or a mental health call or missing person or break-in or you name it, right? Like, it's pretty wild. And like I said before, you're seeing everyone on their worst, and not a lot of people like the police, let's just say, right? Even the people that call you, they like to think that they know how to do your job for you. So when you come, they criticize you and they call you names and all that stuff. And you're like, well, you called us for help, you know? So, and that's another thing is like, you know, I got into this job because I really wanted to help people. But you do help people, but it's a very thankless job. And I don't expect to get a pat on the back or a parade or a cookie every time I do something nice for someone, but it's very thankless, you know, like, and whether it's someone who has suffered a serious trauma, I understand obviously that a thank you is not at the top of their mind at that time, but it's the other people where you'd think would be more thankful. I don't want to give any examples, but just like any kind of victim that you had gotten away from a situation or whatever, you'd think they'd be a little more thankful for, you know, the police and, you know, like everything we did to help them. But then a lot of people just, they don't, like, not a lot of people say thank you. So I'm pretty sure I've gotten a lot of thank yous actually giving speeding tickets more than I have actually helping someone. So if that says anything.
Interesting.
Wow.
It sounds a lot like working retail, actually. It sounds like every day now in our store.
Levels, but
the only difference is we're likely not to get shot. So
yeah.
And people come in because they want to see you, right? Most of the time.
Unless their camera breaks or no, I'm not comparing. I'm joking. I'm totally joking. How do you find the ability to keep empathy for situations like that? I would imagine that it could, I mean, you've been doing it for 10 years now. So have you found yourself feeling a little jaded at times? Like everybody talks about, you know, the police just being jaded and acting aggressively rather than thinking. And I would imagine that all comes back to having empathy for who you're dealing with. How do you find, and is there training by the police to help you with that?
Well, yeah, like, I mean, obviously with empathy, like you kind of have to have similar life circumstances. Like when I first got the job, I was only 25. I'm dating myself. When I first got the job, I was only 25. But you know, like, you know, I was only 25, so I didn't really see that much at that time, right? I had never seen like a dead person before. I had never dealt with a violent domestic or even like break and enter or anything like that, right? So the more experience I got while being in Haliburton and then in Aurelia has just been, you know, you develop this empathy because you've seen it before amongst other people. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. You know, you go to, like, you can develop empathy, or sorry, you can show empathy at like every call you go to, right? Some of them are obviously like you're a lot more empathetic for them. You know, some people will call and say, someone broke into my car, and you're like, well, did you leave it open? And they're like, yep. So you're saying, well, technically they didn't break in, and they just opened it up.
Yeah, we have an expression for that. We just simply go, yeah, dumb.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, it's like, well, I don't really have empathy for you because, like, you left your car open. Like, so, you know, and it happens. Like, it's happened to me before too. So, but yeah, it's just, I guess it's the experience that I've gained over the last 10 years, all the different calls I've been to. You just kind of, you learn how to deal with it, I guess. Because we see a lot, right? So, like I was saying, like, you know, I saw my first dead person, I think, like, I don't know, 5 weeks on the job or something. And it's crazy because at first you're like, this isn't real. Like, it looks like a movie set kind of thing, but you're like, no, this is real. Like, it's wild. It's a crazy concept, but, well, I quickly had to learn it, right? And had to, process everything that was going on, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it for that.
So being a police officer, I mean, that's like a totally male-dominated world still, isn't it? Like, do you find it's difficult? We just actually tonight, right now, is airing the show that's airing right now while we're recording this is Christina, the executive chef. And we were talking about how in that world, it's a very male-dominated world. Now, I would only imagine in your world, it's more so. How do you handle that?
Well, actually, in my first detachment that I worked at Haliburton, I was the only female officer there for the better part of my time there. So for almost 2 years, I was the only female police officer. So it's pretty crazy, right? Because people look at you and like back then I was 10 years younger, so I looked a little younger. And, you know, people would call me like baby pig and like baby bacon. I'm just like, really? Like people that you're dealing with would call me these names because, you know, everyone calls a police officer that, and they thought it was funny. But, you know, you're always dealing, but then like everyone that you work with is like almost like your big brother, right? So everyone looks out for you. But you kind of like, you have to develop your own kind of like persona, right? Because sometimes there'd be times where I'd be on one side of the county working and I'd have to go to a call that, you know, not necessarily would be super dangerous, but I'd be showing up by myself and people would be like, oh, you know, kind of take it because I'm only 5'4", you know, and there's some officers that I work with are 6'10". They have a lot more presence than I do. So I kind of had to work on like my presence. And on the note that you were talking about earlier about how, I forget what you said about how we talk to people or something like that. I just talk to people the way that I would personally want to be talked to. You know, when people raise their voice at me, I'm like, why are you yelling at me? Like, I'm not yelling at you, so please don't yell at me. Like, I talk to them very matter of fact, and I talk to them as if they were my family or something like that, right? And even if they're yelling at me, calling me names, I'm like, okay, why are you being rude? Like, I'm not being rude to you. I kind of just put back on them, you know?
Hang on. I've heard you talk to Jen. I've heard you talk to Erica. Do you talk to them like that? I mean, just.
Sometimes I'm sarcastic. It comes out sometimes, but it's just, you know, you just kind of got to feel out the situation. If it's someone that you can be sarcastic around, but some people take serious offense to that, right? So you got to really read the situation and be good at that. And so it's pretty wild.
And that's probably even more so these days. It seems like everybody's on edge to a different level. Like we have one of our employees who is very animated. He's very silly at times with his customers, and some customers take it as that, and he gets like 5-star reviews. I love this guy, and other people are like, "What are you talking to me?" You know, like you must have that heightened aggression these days from COVID people that you'd have to do. I actually, mind you, you've been on mat leave for a while, so you probably haven't had to deal with a whole lot of COVID police stuff.
No,
That's
I haven't
a good
had
thing.
to deal with any because I only went back to work for I only had to go back to work for 3 months between the two babies. So when I went back to work, I was already like 7 months pregnant. So I went straight to desk duty, basically. I was on modified duties and I wasn't wearing a uniform. So I didn't really deal with like anything like to do with COVID, right? So I don't even know what it would be like as a police officer right now in COVID times, right? So.
When do you go back?
I go back April next year, April 2022.
Oh, good. So you got lots of time. Focus in on HQ Fit. Yeah. Nice.
What's that transition going to be like? Because I guess you're doing the what's it called? The fitness training like a good chunk of your time now. How's that going to be like when you go back to work? Just curious.
So actually right before I went on mat leave the first time, I was working shift work pretty much my entire career up until May 2019 when I went on light duty. So when I was on light duties, I applied for a position as a court officer. So that's the officer that you see in the courthouse, that's dealing with either provincial court or criminal court. And that's a Monday to Friday kind of administrative role as opposed to working shift work. So I managed to compete for that job and I got it prior to going on mat leave. So when I get back from mat leave, it's still my job. So there's been like someone filling into the position right now. So when I get back, I think it'll be a little easier to kind of transition into an administrative hourly week rather than a shift worker week. Because shift work, you're working, 60 hours in 5 days, and it's crazy. I couldn't imagine working that and then coming home and, raising my boys. Like, it would be nuts, right? Because I would be gone from 5:30 in the morning till sometimes 6:15, whatever, 6:30 at night, or more, because you end up working overtime almost every shift just for all the stuff that you're dealing with through the day. So I ended up getting this administrative job, or like I'm still a police officer, I'm still going to be in uniform, but it's just administrative hours, I guess you could say. So I think that the transition will be a little better because then I can still focus on my family and our business on weeknights and weekends, essentially. So
okay, cool. So you kind of do like the weeknight and weekends for the fitness studio. That's awesome. Yeah.
When it was in our basement here, I would run boot camps whenever I was off of work. So or if I was on a day shift, I'd run it later that night. So I am used to working I've always had 2 to 3 jobs at a time. So it's not like too crazy for me to work, like 15, 16-hour days sometimes. So
that's actually another thing I know that Robin and Dwayne would instill. I mean, from day one, they teach you responsibility. They teach you to take care of yourself. They teach you to get a job and, contribute.
Yeah.
And, a lot of respect for Dwayne and Robin. Love those guys.
Definitely.
The training that you went through to be a teacher, how much did that help you with HQ Fit?
Yes. Well, that was so long ago before I found my passion for fitness. So I went to Brock University when I was 18, I think, 19 maybe. So that was like 14 years ago, right? So it was a long time. And honestly, it was just like the beginning year was just, it wasn't really teacher's college yet. It was just your bachelor of, I think I was taking Bachelor of Arts at the time. So it was all very basic. But I mean, I did do placements like with teachers and stuff like that. So I honestly, when I started boot camps myself, I just started to teach them as if I'd never done it before. I hadn't even been to a boot camp before, to be honest. And I just started doing it. You research workouts, and then, I figured out like a timing regime that I would do for boot camps and all that kind of stuff. And everything just kind of worked together. And I do my boot camps in 60 minutes. And, I've finessed things along the way. But yeah, I think I kind of had to develop my own way of like being a teacher, I guess you could say.
Makes sense.
But also I was also a coach officer as well for a rookie. So she started with me. This was a while ago too. It was a few years ago. She started with me, and I became a coach officer for the first time. So that was pretty interesting too.
Yeah, I know that you find your own way. Like I never went to school for any kind of teaching or anything like that. But with Day Tripper, you find what works. You find what's absorbed. You kind of, like you say, you get their timing right. The presentations end up being refined over time. Yeah, that's good. Okay, we are almost out. We've got about 10 minutes before the end of the hour. We've got a couple questions for you. Yeah. I asked you earlier, one of the things we do is we have our guests issue a challenge to our viewers, listeners, whatever you want to call them. Any challenge at all, something that you feel may improve their world through your experience. Have you given any thought to that? Do you have a challenge that you'd like to issue?
Yeah, so recently we just held a challenge. It was a 30-day challenge. So you do 30 minutes of cardio and 30 every day for 30 days. So we had amazing feedback on it. And it could be anything. You could go for a walk, a hike, rollerblading, swimming, kayaking, biking, anything, as long as, you're getting your heart rate up and you're going for 30 minutes for 30 days in a row. And the feedback we got was unreal. Like the ladies, and there was a couple men doing it too. They just love it, right? It gives you some sort of like motivation for every day and also like a lot of people were saying, they've gone on walks after dinner with their family that they wouldn't have done before, or they've, gone for bike rides, or they've gone for swims or whatever, right? And they just said like, it's nice because you kind of like, you put your phone away for a bit, or you go, for a nice relaxing or walk with your family after dinner, and you see the sunset or you see the sunrise, or, just it was really nice. So I challenge your listeners to do 30 minutes of cardio for the next 30 days consecutively, and see how it goes. You'll be amazed at how you feel after.
I'm going to try and do that myself. I need to. And the point that you made earlier about the, when you have lower back pain, Aurora knows this. I've got like crazy lower back pain all the time. It's better now. I've kind of fixed it, but nonetheless, you're right. It's all the other muscles around it, the core, the glutes, everything else around that you need to build up to support. Right. So it's all part of it. I gotta do it. I wish I was closer to where you are. I'd come up and work with you guys.
Honestly, I was thinking the same thing.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
You sound very inspirational, and the type,
Thank you.
I've always had kind of like a tough time with like health and fitness, with like school stuff and other things in my life. And I have a couple like health issues that I don't really like talking a whole lot about. But like the way that you've talked about these programs, and that there's people who are just starting out, and there's people who are like more advanced in that type of thing, and you're all kind of like supporting each other as a team. I really, really like that idea and that aspect to it.
Where'd she go?
Hopefully she'll be back.
Hopefully. There she is.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
I
don't know what happened there. It just turned off. Yeah.
All right,
did yours do that
sorry,
too?
Go ahead. Just on your end.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, so I was just saying that I think that it's a really good environment to kind of be in, very supportive kind of thing. And I feel like
it's very inclusive.
Yeah.
That's key.
So
especially
I think that this
for a lot
challenge
of
would be good to try for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It seems easy enough, you know.
Yes, yeah. Like honestly, you can do anything like for 30 minutes. Just do it consecutively for 30 days, and you'd be amazed at even like the sense of accountability you'll feel for yourself. You're like, okay, I'm doing this challenge. I don't want to get off the couch. I want to keep watching this Netflix show because it's so good, but I need to do 30 minutes. Just go for a walk for 30 minutes. Anyone can do anything for 30 minutes, right? So
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, 2 more questions for you, Cass, and we'll let you go. First question: what's your jam? What? I know you kind of mentioned some music earlier, but specifically, what song can you listen to without fail? Never want to skip it. Never want to move past it. It makes you feel great every time you hear it.
Honestly, like my current song that I like listening to.
Yeah,
jam.
Kickstart My Heart, Motley Crue. No, okay.
It's actually called. It's called People Equals Shit, and it's by Slipknot. It is my absolute jam. When I put that song on, I feel like I can lift anything, and it feels phenomenal.
I'm gonna have to listen to that.
It's really good, and it just like gets you really fired up. I listened to it today. Actually, I was doing some deadlifts, and I was like, I need to listen to this song. Like, it's amazing. And there's also one more song that's called Demolisher, and it's by a band. I believe it's a Russian death metal band called what's it called? Slaughter to Prevail. That's what it's called. That's the band name. So it's pretty intense, but yeah, it's a really good, like, I don't know if any of your listeners are death metal people, but it's like, honestly, it's become like my jam. Seriously, I love it.
Yeah, that's the neat thing about our show is there's no listener. I mean, it's everybody, you know, like we have 4 different diverse hosts, and we've had all kinds of different musical tastes and guests and stuff. Have you ever heard of the band Ginger?
No, I don't think so.
Look it up. Have a listen. It's a female singer, and if you get the right song, she's singing very melodic, very pretty voice. Like, wow, I like this. There's a bit of a jazz riff and stuff like that on the drums. A lot of talent going on, and all of a sudden she breaks into the death metal. And
oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Ginger it's called.
All right, I'll look it up.
When you were talking about death metal earlier, I was thinking she has to do a reaction to this song because it's pretty incredible. Like you can't even. I can't even describe the reaction that I got when I realized that it was her voice coming out.
Me too.
Wild. Jordan's shown me music videos of women death metal singers, and I'm like, holy, like that is talent. Like that is pure talent. Well,
when you hear her sing, I mean, when she's singing, it's talent. It's amazing. I'm like, wow, she's got a great voice. And she actually said it's harder to do the death metal singing than it is to do the real singing because, you can't burn your throat out. It's
right.
Anyway, check it out. Check it. Okay, next question. Last question of the conversation. Possibly, I don't know. We can ask other questions after. It doesn't matter. One of the things in the world of photography that a lot of people do is they kind of do what's in your bag. You know, everybody opens their camera bag and they start talking about all the cool stuff they have. I find that to be not quite in line with mental health. It's like, hey, buy stuff, whatever. So what we've done in our show is we have something called Tools of the Trade. Something that you use day in and day out that just makes your world better. It can be a product, it can be an idea, it can be a concept, it can be anything that you use pretty much all the time that just makes your day-to-day better.
Honestly, I'd have to say making an hour, at least an hour or just an hour, whatever you can do for yourself once a day, just you. So for me, like I said earlier, I put my headphones on, I go into that gym, and for that hour, it is my space. I'm letting everything out on the floor kind of thing. I don't really think about anything. I turn the music up, I put the weight stacks up, and I lift, and I feel incredible. So it's the days when I don't get to work out. I feel like I feel it, honestly. Like the other day I didn't work out. It was last Friday. I just couldn't get anyone to watch the kids for the hour. So I didn't work out that day and I just felt like crap. And then the next day I finally got to lift in the morning, and it's amazing the feeling you get from a workout. It's absolutely insane. That's been my saving grace for the past, 6 or 7 years. So that's the one thing I would say is definitely carve out an hour a day where you can just focus on yourself, because that's really important for mental health and
Totally,
for sanity. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Cassie. I really can't thank you enough for being here with us. Loved hearing your story. I'm so proud of you. I wish you all the best, and good luck with the studio, and stay safe with policing.
Thank you
and
so much.
Again, for the 2 babies that you have, congratulations. And Jordan seems like a great guy. So good for all good things for you, man. That's awesome. Thank
you very much for having me. I really enjoyed it. It was awesome.
It's nice talking about yourself for a change, right?
It is kind of cool, yeah.
Yeah, nobody talks about themselves enough. You gotta be able to give yourself some credit. Take a little bit of appreciation for some of the amazing things that you've been doing.
Yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you for being a police officer. I know you might not hear it enough, but I have a lot of respect for police officers, and I've. Call it whatever you want. I've never had a bad situation. And in my experience, if you're straightforward and honest with who you're talking to, you're going to get the same back. So
yeah, exactly.
Let's hope.
Just treat people the way you want to be treated. Yeah,
exactly.
So,
Aurora,
thank
anything?
you. Thank you for everything, being on the show, and really inspirational chat. And thank you for what you do as a police officer.
Thank you.
I think that there's like a lot of negative things in social media and a negative connotation to police officers in general. But I think that's it, from experience of the little few that, maybe not do their job as well as they could, because there's so many great police officers out there, do their job very well and take,
it's those bad apples that give the rest of us a bad name. So
that's true.
And I think the thing is that people need to realize that it's only a few that are like that in comparison to the grand scheme of things. So
definitely.
All right. Well, that's it for us. Thank you, Cassie. Thank you again, Aurora, for being here this week. And thank you to all of you who've watched and listened to this podcast. I hope you felt that inspiration that I feel every time I see some of the things that Cassie does. And keep up the good work, everybody. And we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.